Are you recording it? Oh my god, okay, well since we're on air, as it were, I'm going to go ahead and introduce all of us in the room. I'm Aniko, and this is my sister Erica. She's offered to help me out here because I felt really weird just talking by myself. I am not saying I don't talk to myself because I do sometimes, but I felt awkward. So she's offered to help out by reading the questions that you submitted to me on my blog or on Twitter.
Via Twitter, J. Eric Keith asks 2 questions. The first, how hard is it to get author approval for Goodreads?
That was actually a very easy process. As an indie author, it's likely you'll have to upload your own book. It's not going to be there automatically. And it's only once you have a book uploaded and you have an account there that you can go ahead and fill out the form to get author approval. They say it could take 2 days to 3 days. I got my approval the same day.
All right, the second question, where did you get your ISBN and how many did you buy?
I got mine from Bowker and I ordered it on, let me read it here, www.myidentifiers.com. And I bought a 10-pack, which made it a lot cheaper because it's $125 for one, and you have to have one per book.
Wow.
Yeah, and but if you buy it in bulk, you get a pretty good discount. So I bought the 10-pack for $250, which turns out to be really good because the book that I'm writing now has actually turned into a series. So
good.
I'm going to burn up those 10 quickly, more quickly than expected.
Hunter Shea is the next person that asked a question, and he asked the question via Aniko's blog. The question is, if a publisher told you that they would make you rich and famous, but you could only write in one genre for the rest of your life, what genre would that be and why?
Okay, this is a really tough question because it's theoretical, first of all, and second of all, like picking one genre, like I thought of a lot of ways around this. Like I could say, oh, I'm going to write speculative fiction, which encompasses all of horror, all of like horror, supernatural. You could lump a lot of things in there. But I thought that was kind of a sneaky answer. I would have to say, oh no, I'm so torn because the book that I'm working on now is mainly science fiction instead of horror, but I'd probably choose horror. That said, yeah, definitely. I don't really want to be rich or famous.
Right.
I'm very interested in the wide variety of things that you can do as a fiction author. And if I labor penniless for the rest of my life, that's how it'll be.
But you're doing what you love.
Yeah.
All right, good answer. The next question is from Kasia, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Kasia S. And she actually didn't ask a question, but did mention Stephen King's book on writing. She references King's method for revision. This makes me wonder, what is your process for revision?
My process for revision actually is very closed door. I'll write from beginning to end, or sometimes from end to beginning, just depending on which pieces I know first.
Wow.
That's what's happening now. This book I'm writing now, I actually wrote the second half before I realized that I had a first half to tell. So I've gone back and added. So I do all of that closed door. I do that all by myself. I don't share it with anybody. I don't discuss the ideas with anybody, not Mr. Aniko, not my sister, nobody. I write from beginning to end, and then I go through and I do a couple, sometimes 2, 3, maybe even 4 revisions before I feel like I'm ready to share with anybody else. And at that point, I let people in, I take their suggestions. Mr. Aniko had several really good questions about Stolen Climates in an original draft, and actually the ending of the story changed based on things he said.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, I'll have to hear more about that later.
Yeah,
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
I'm serious. Was it harder to write the book or revise the book? Like, what was more challenging for you?
That's a really good question. For me, the rough draft, first draft writing is so much harder. Mainly because it's such shit. Like it's so bad to start with.
Polished yet?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's really bad. Like what you got in Stolen Climates when you read it was the final, as I feel, complete and as perfect as it's gonna get for a work created by a human being, by me, no less, that the work itself has a life now, whereas before it was just something that was in my head.
Right.
And now, like, you've read it, other people have read it, and
hopefully lots of more people read it.
I hope so too.
All right, so the last question is from Mari Biela via your blog, and she says, as a fellow horror junkie, I wondered whether you find horror writing particularly cathartic. I seem to remember reading an interview with Stephen King in which he commented that writing and reading about bad things is almost like a charm whereby we think we can avoid their actually happening in real life. Is horror a means of exercising our demons, or is it just fun to be scared?
I love this question. I love Mari, and I want to put a plug out there. Mari just published a book today. It went live, and when I get back, I will tell you the title because I'm blanking on it right now. But anyways, this is an excellent question. I think that horror can be used to exorcise demons. I definitely agree that it's fun to be scared. It feels good to know that you get that sort of tingle, but you know you're still in control of the situation. It's like driving really fast on a road you know very well. Yeah. You get that feeling like you're
everybody loves doing that.
Yeah, you're slightly out of control, and you know that something bad could happen, but the chances of that seem really, not that I'm advocating everybody should succeed or drive crazy, but it's that feeling of the exhilaration of remembering that you're mortal, and that at this moment you are in control and you feel good and you feel powerful. I think there's definitely that aspect of fun to horror, a horror movie, horror book, because you can look away and set it aside and say, I'm still in control, my house is still safe, there aren't actually zombies or demons or anything right here, right now. But I think there's two real purposes to horror, for me at least, and one of them is it allows you to practice in your mind what you would do if you were faced with a bad situation. Granted, the details might be different. It will be different in most cases, I'm sure. But you get that sense of, you see what the characters are doing, and what an author can do, if they're really good, is they can give you a variety of different characters taking such different approaches to the same problem. And you can look and evaluate for yourself. Would I do that? Was that the right move?
Yes.
And sometimes you think, that was the right move. I do agree with that. But then something bad happens to that character. Like, it turns out to actually have been wrong, or gotten them killed, or whatever. Zombified, perhaps. The act of being afraid can leave you so paralyzed. And we're all afraid of being afraid, really. Yes. We're all afraid of being powerless and of being out of control. Horror provides you like a safe place to practice different options for when you are afraid. But the second thing that I think that horror does is, and maybe this is more towards sci-fi, but horror also allows you to look at things in our culture and in our world and say, wow, is it right to do that? Sci-fi and horror can allow you to ask these questions, and at such a remove that you can actually be a little bit more objective. You can examine different situations. So not only do you learn about yourself and how you'd react to things, you say, as a culture, as a society, how do we want to be, and what is right, what is ethical, what is moral?
Excellent answer.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm long-winded, I know. Sorry.
Well, thank you for talking to us.
And thank you. Yeah, thank you all for watching, and thank you, big hand of applause for my sister Erica. She's been super awesome, and to our cameraman, and to Roxy the dog, who's been over there snoring and being perfectly dog-like. See y'all.
Thank you.
Oh shit, it wasn't recording that whole time.
Oh no!
I'm just kidding. You guys' faces are priceless.